When we think about breathing, I suppose the best way to think about breathing is think in terms of another function, eating. So you're going to have either your breakfast, your lunch, your dinner today. And somebody will give you, or you prepare it yourself, a plate of food. In order to eat the food off that plate, now the volume of the food that's on the plate is the volume of food that you're going to be taking into your body. You don't want to be overeating. In other words, eating more food than what your body needs, because of course, then we put on weight, or you don't want to be under-eating. And that's eating less food than what your metabolic needs are. But in order to calculate the food that's eaten off the plate, we're handed a fork or a spoon or some utensil. It could be a big fork, could be a small fork. So it's the number of forkfuls multiplied by the size of the fork that determines the volume of food on the plate. Okay, that kind of makes sense, doesn't it? So think about that the next time you sit down for your meal. You have a fork, you have the size of a fork, and it's the number of forkfuls by the size of the fork that will determine the volume of food that you eat. And the volume of food is the big one. So whatever food that we eat off that plate is the key. It's not the size of the fork, that doesn't matter. The number of forkfuls doesn't matter. It's the volume of food. When we think about breathing, we should be thinking about the volume of air that we are breathing. And the volume of air that we are breathing is calculated by the respiratory rate, which is the number of breaths that we breathe, typically over 1 minute, multiplied by the size of each breath. So in other words, when we take a breath of air into the lungs, what volume of air are we taking in? So it's the respiratory rate multiplied by the tidal volume gives us minute volume. So making that same comparison with food, the respiratory rate is the number of forkfuls. The tidal volume is the size of the fork. The minute volume of air is the volume of food that you're eating off the plate.